Its heart is the size of a small car. Its voice can be heard 1,000 kilometers underwater. Its tongue weighs as much as a full-grown African elephant. And it feeds on creatures you can barely see with the naked eye. This is not fiction, not an exaggeration, and not a metaphor. This is the blue whale, the largest animal in the entire history of life on our planet. Larger than any dinosaur. Larger than any creature that has ever walked, crawled, flown, or swum on this earth. And today we will analyze it from beginning to end. From what its ancestors were like 50 million years ago to what is happening to it right now. Because the story of this animal is one of the most incredible stories on the planet. If you are interested in the wild world, subscribe right now. New videos about animals and nature are released here every week. So let's start from the very beginning. And this beginning will be unexpected. 50 million years ago, a small animal lived on the shores of the ancient ocean. It was called a pacan set. About the size of a dog, with a build somewhere between a wolf and an otter. It ran along the shore, splashed in the snorkel, and caught fish. Nothing special. Seemingly an ordinary little animal, of which there were many at the time. But it was the direct ancestor of the blue whale. The very one whose length today reaches 33 meters. How did this happen? Why did a land animal take to the sea and become the largest creature on the planet? It all came down to competition. On land, life was crowded. Predators, competitors, limited resources. But in the water, there was space, limitless food supplies, and almost no enemies. The descendants of Pacaris began to spend more and more time in the water. Generation after generation, million years after million years, their bodies changed. The next link was Ambulocetus. They call it the walking whale. It already resembled a crocodile. A long body, powerful legs, the ability to hunt from an ambush in shallow water. He could still walk on land, but felt most at home in the water. Then Rodhatset appeared. His body became streamlined, his tail strong, his legs shorter. He was the last of the whale ancestors to still remember what it was like to walk on land. He hadn't forgotten land. He simply chose not to return, and after him came Basilosaurus. Now that was a true predator. Up to 18 meters long, with huge teeth, completely marine. Small vestigial fretboards on his body are a reminder of what his ancestors were. Basilosaurus dominated the ancient seas, and the silhouette of future whales was already discernible in him. Honestly, when I first came across the chain, Pakicetes, Ambulocetus, Ratosites, Basilosaurus, I couldn't believe it was the same evolutionary path. I had to reread it several times. It seems too incredible. Gradually, ancient whales were faced with a choice. The ocean is vast, food is bottomless, but there are different ways to obtain it. Some became active hunters, retaining their teeth. They developed echolocation and learned to chase prey quickly and accurately. This is how toothed whales, dolphins, killer whales, and sperm whales emerged. Their strategy is to find and catch. Others discovered that the ocean was literally overflowing with small food. Why chase every fish when you could simply open your mouth and filter the water? Teeth became unnecessary. They were replaced by a special structure made of keratin, the baleen. Baleen whales emerged. Their strategy is to let in and filter. The blue whale is the pinnacle of this lineage, the absolute record holder among filter feeders. Today, scientists account about 80 species of cetaceans. They inhabit all oceans, from the Tropic to the polar ice caps. Some ascend rivers. The Amazon river dolphin, for example, lives in fresh water and has almost no sight. In the murky river water, its eyes have become useless. Others, like the cachalot, dive to depths of 3.5 kilometers and hunt in complete darkness. This infraorder has colonized the planet far more completely than is commonly believed. And here's the interesting thing. The whale's closest living relative on land today isn't some fur seal or a fur seal. It's a hippopotamus. Yes, a hippopotamus. Genetically, they diverged approximately 54 million years ago. What a twist, I tell you. Now about size. Because talking about the blue whale and not mentioning its size is like talking about the Mariana Trench and not mentioning its depth. The body length of an adult blue whale ranges from 25 to 33 meters. For comparison, that's about the size of a large passenger. Females, as is typical for many species, are larger than males. The blue whale weighs between 100 and 180 tons, and according to some sources, up to 200 tons. No dinosaur has ever reached such a weight. The blue whale is the heaviest creature in the entire history of life on Earth. Its heart weighs approximately 180 kilograms. Its size has been compared to that of a small car. However, a caveat is necessary here. There are many photos circulating online of a huge heart supposedly belonging to a blue whale where a child could walk on it and literally swim through the aorta. This is a model and a greatly enlarged one at that. The real heart of a 22-meter whale is enormous, yes, but it is nowhere near the size of a passenger car. Don't believe everything you see online. The whale's main artery is approximately the diameter of a human arm. Thousands of liters of blood are pumped through it. In one beat, the heart pumps approximately 200 liters. Thus, at rest, it is 8 to 10 beats per minute. When a whale dives, its heart slows down even more. This allows it to use oxygen more efficiently. The tongue. That's a whole other story. The blue whale's tongue weighs about 4 tons. It could physically hold several dozen people. The tongue isn't used for tasting or chewing food. It works like a piston, squeezing water out of its enormous mouth, trapping the inside. One breath is about 5,000 liters of air, and all of this volume is drawn in about a second. The exhalation fountain rises to a height of up to 9 meters. It is visible from a great distance, and each whale species has its own fountain shape. An experienced observer can identify the creature by its fountain. The blue whale's voice ranges from 10 to 40 hertz. Most of its sounds are below the threshold of human hearing, but its power is 188 decibels. This is louder than a jet engine. Underwater, its signals travel up to a meter. It literally communicates with its fellow whales across half the ocean. And see, another detail that's hard to grasp. The blue whale moves despite all this weight smoothly and almost silently. Its body is flawlessly streamlined. No protruding parts, no angles. Smooth skin, longitudinal folds on the belly which smooth out turbulence as it moves. It glides through the water with almost no drag despite weighing up to 200 tons. A normal cruising speed is about 20 kilometers an hour. If necessary, it can accelerate to 30, although it doesn't stay that way for long. There are no bones on the tail fin. It is composed of dense connective tissue, hard as rubber, and just as elastic. The tail is the main engine. Not the pectoral fins, not the entire body, but the tail itself, which beats vertically up and down. This is what fundamentally distinguishes a whale from a fish. A fish's tail beats horizontally. This is a consequence of that very evolution. The ancestors of the whale walked in the spines of animals that bend vertically. Now, question for you. Which of these numbers surprise you the most? Thought, the voice, or something else? Write in the comments, I'm interested. Let's move on to what this giant eats. And here we find perhaps the most astonishing paradox in the world of wildlife. When we think about food chains, we're accustomed to a certain logic. A small creature eats something even smaller. Then it's eaten by something bigger. And so gradually, rung by rung, we rise to the largest predators. The fox eats mice. The wolf eats the fox. Everything is clear. Everything is consistent. But the blue whale blows this logic to smithereens. The largest animal on the planet feeds on krill, the tiny rhinoceroses, 2-3 meters long. Not sharks, not large fish, not squid. Creatures you can barely see in the palm of your hand. This mice personally amazes me every time I think about it. The giant and the microbe at one end of this relationship. Krill are small crustaceans, similar to tiny shrimp. They gather in incredibly dense aggregations, sometimes forming entire clouds in the water column, their reddish bodies. Blue whales prey on these aggregations The daily requirement of an adult blue whale is 3.5 to 4 tons of krill per day. This is approximately 40 million individual crustaceans per whale per day. To acquire this amount of food, the whale must literally eat non-stop for most of the day. The feeding mechanism works like this. The whale slowly swims toward a krill aggregation and then abruptly opens its mouth. The lower jaw can open almost 90 degrees. At this moment, tens of cubic meters of water rush in along with the krill. The volume is comparable to a small swimming pool. The ventral folds are at those longitudinal grooves that are clearly visible from the outside. They stretch, increasing the capacity of the pharynx several times. Now the tongue comes into play. That same 4-ton tongue. It presses against the baleen plates and literally forces water out through the gaps between them. The water leaves, but the acrylic remains. Dinner is served. Baleen is neither bone nor cartilage. It's plates of keratin, the same material that makes up our nails and hair. They hang from the upper jaw and form a dense fringe that acts as a very dense sieve. The plates of a blue whale are about a meter long, sometimes a little more. There are 250 to 400 of them on each side. There's one interesting detail that's often overlooked. The blue whale's throat is about the diameter of a saucer, 10 to 12 centimeters. Despite its enormous size, the whale is physically incapable of swallowing anything larger than a small fish. All the legends about people being swallowed by whales refer to scaly-sided whales, which have truly wide throats. The blue whale is simply not designed for such a large swallow. Its specialty is filter feeding, and it's been honed to absolute perfection. The whale feeds only in the summer and early fall, when krill is most readily available in the cold waters. For about 8 months of the year, it eats virtually nothing, living on accumulated fat. The blue whale's subcutaneous fat layer reaches 50 centimeters that this serves as insulation, fuel storage, and a buoyancy boost all in one. This reserve allows it to fast for months without serious harm to its health. Although, of course, by the end of winter, the whale noticeably loses weight, and during the first months of summer, it practically feeds non-stop. Now let's talk about how the blue whale lives. Ooh. Not hunts, but lives. How it breathes, how it sleeps, how it communicates. The blue whale is a mammal. This means it breathes through lungs, not gills. Every 10-20 minutes, it must surface to take a... When at rest, it takes 1 breath per minute. When diving to great depths, a whale can hold its breath for up to 30 minutes. Dives of up to 150 to 200 meters have been recorded, although the whale typically stays closer to the surface. A single breath fills its lungs with a volume of up to 14 cubic meters. For comparison, that's about half the size of a small room, and all this air is sucked in almost instantly. The blowhole isn't just a hole in the head. It's a complex muscular valve that automatically closes underwater and opens only at the surface. Baleen whales, which include the blue whale, have double blowhole with 2 openings next to each other. This explains the characteristic forked spout when exhaling. Now about sleep. That's a whole other story, because sleeping underwater, being a creature that needs to breathe air, is no trivial task. The blue whale sleeps near the surface. Thanks to its high fat content, its body is slightly denser than water. It slowly and passively descends. After 2-3 minutes, its tail beats a few times, the whale surfaces, takes a breath, and begins to slowly descend again. This is how it sleeps: a push, a rise, a breath, back down, session after session. It looks mesmerizing. This enormous creature slowly bobs near the surface, almost motionless. Interestingly, blue whales, according to available data, can go without sleep for several months at a time. The mechanism is not fully understood, but it is believed that they, like many marine mammals, have hemispheric sleep. One half of the brain rests, while the other controls breathing and movement. Blue whales are solitary by nature. They do not stay in pods or form stable groups. Occasionally, you can encounter a pair. Usually this is a male and female during mating season, or a mother and calf. In rare cases, small aggregations of whales appear where krill is especially abundant. But this is temporary. They feed and disperse. However, loneliness does not mean isolation. Blue whales can perfectly hear their peers from up to 1,000 kilometers away. Its low-frequency signals propagate underwater as sound never does in air. Essentially, every whale in the ocean exists in constant acoustic contact with others, even those farther away. But here begins one of the most astonishing mysteries in the world of whales. In 1992, the American military, listening to the ocean with their hydrophones, detected a strange signal, a frequency of 52 Hz. Blue whales sing at 1040 Hz, humpbacks at even lower frequencies. Is a completely different story. Too high for any known species. The signal was recorded again and again in different parts of the ocean. It moved like a solitary animal. It was nicknamed the 52 Hz whale, and another name appeared on the internet, the loneliest whale in the world. It was believed that everyone could hear its voice, but no one could respond. No other whale was tuned to such clarity. Who it was remains unknown. No one had ever seen this whale. Perhaps a hybrid. Perhaps it's a Talus with an abnormal vocal apparatus. Perhaps it's simply a mutation that makes it different. Or perhaps it's not alone in our understanding of the word. Perhaps everything is fine for it. It hears others, but it sounds different. The ocean guards its secrets closely. Tell us in the comments, do you think this whale is truly alone? Or is it simply living on its own wavelength, literally? I wonder if it swims and philosophizes somewhere in the depths, while everyone else is busy with their own affairs. And by the way, the voice of the blue whale is lost without vocal cords. It simply doesn't have them. Scientists don't fully understand how exactly its vocal apparatus works. Sounds are produced in the pharynx, but there are no cords or other obvious structures responsible for sound generation in other animals. It's the loudest creature on the planet, and the mechanism of its voice still remains a mystery. Moreover, humpback whales, its closest relatives, have even more interesting vocal behavior. Humpbacks sing real songs, complex ones that last for hours up to 30 minutes. A single humpback can sing for several hours straight without repeating itself. Moreover, their repertoire changes from season to season as if they were inventing new melodies. The blue whale is more laconic in this regard, but its signals are just as complex in structure, and scientists are certain that this isn't just noise. It's communication. It's a message with a meaning we can't yet decipher. Excerpt 2. Continuation from the moment. Continuing. We've settled on the mystery of the whale with a frequency of 52 Hz. Continuing. We've settled on the mystery of the whale with a frequency of 52 Hz. Now let's talk about how the blue whale creates a family and raises its offspring. This, in my opinion, is one of the warmest parts of the life of these animals and one of the least known. This is perhaps one of the most touching parts of the life of these animals. Blue whales are monogamous. Once a pair forms, they remain together for a long time. Mating season occurs in winter, when whales migrate to warm tropical waters. Before Sanyaka makes a choice, the males engage in a kind of competition, demonstrating strength, singing, and chasing the female. Incidentally, they sing very loudly over a great distance. The winner is the one who makes an impression and is closest. Gestation lasts 10-12 months. An interesting fact that few people know. At the very beginning of pregnancy, the female can develop several embryos simultaneously. Cases with 7 embryos have been recorded, but later only 1 remains. Nature is strict in its selection. The calf is born in warm waters. It is safer there, without icy currents and fewer predators. At birth, the calf is 7 to 9 meters long and weighs about 3 tons. This is the largest newborn on the planet by combined size. From literally the first seconds of life, the mother helps it surface and take its first breath. Blue whale milk is a miracle in itself. Its consistency is similar to very thick cream or even toothpaste. It has about 50% fat. For comparison, cow's milk has 3 to 4% fat. It also has significantly more protein. A calf drinks up to 400 liters of this milk per day. As a result, it gains 80-90 kilograms per day. Every day. Within 6 months, the baby doubles or even triples its size, growing up to 20 meters. Underwater feeding is a process that has long remained a mystery to scientists. The mother's nipples are covered with a layer of skin and barely protrude. This is necessary to avoid creating resistance in the water. The calf swims toward its mother and touches her. And at the moment of contact, the mother literally squirts milk into its mouth under pressure. No lengthy feeding scenes. A brief encounter, a feeding, then off they go, back again. This happens several times an hour. Feeding lasts for about 7 months. During this time, the mother not only feeds her calf, but also teaches it lessons, migration routes, feeding grounds, how to respond to danger. This close bond shapes the young whale's entire future experience. After weaning, it begins an independent life, but remains relatively vulnerable for several more years. Blue whales reach sexual maturity at about 10 years of age. They live, on average, 80 to 90 years. This is comparable to a human lifespan. The oldest documented blue whale lived to be 110 years old. A whale's age is determined by the layers of a specific waxy substance in its earwax, much like the rings on a tree trunk. Each whale's tail fluke is unique in its pattern. Furrows, spots, and scars combine to form a unique design. Scientists use tail photographs to identify individual whales and track their movements across the ocean. This is much more convenient and humane than traditional tagging. Blue whale migrations cover thousands of kilometers. In summer and fall, they stay in cold waters, Antarctic, Arctic, Alaskan, and Californian, where krill is most abundant. In winter, they migrate to the tropics and subtropics, where it's warmer and safer for breeding. This journey is one of the longest regular routes of any mammal. Thousands of kilometers there, thousands back, every year. Without a map, without landmarks that we could understand from the Earth's magnetic field, water temperature, or ocean sounds. Scientists tracking these animals with satellite tags have discovered something interesting. Different individuals use different routes, and these routes remain stable for years. The mother leads her calf along the same path she took herself, and the calf remembers it. Thus, knowledge is passed down from generation to generation by passing genes through experience. And now about who even this giant must escape. An adult blue whale has virtually no natural enemies. This is one of the few cases in nature when an animal is simply too large to be prey. But there is one exception: the killer whale. Killer whales are toothed whales related to dolphins. Smart, fast, and hunt in groups with amazing coordination. They are incomparably smaller in size than the blue whale. An adult killer whale is 6 to 8 meters long and weighs about 6 tons against a 30-meter giant. It would seem they have no chance against a blue whale. But the killer whales have learned one thing: don't touch the adult whale. The target is the calf. The attack looks like this. A group of killer whales, usually 5 to 20 individuals, tracks a female and her calf. They begin to separate them, herding the calf aside, distracting the mother, preventing the baby from coming up for air. It's a long, exhausting process that can last several hours. The mother tries to protect the calf with her body, holding it close, shielding it. But there are several killer whales. They are more agile and resilient in the short term. It's a team hunt versus a solitary defense. Interestingly, killer whales don't eat everything. They are interested in the whale's tongue, lips, and throat, the softest and fattiest parts. They often simply discard the rest. It seems cruel, but from a natural perspective, it's a normal feeding strategy for a highly selective predator. This is why female blue whales give birth in warm coastal waters, not in the open ocean. There are fewer killer whales there. Being in shallow waters provides at least some advantage. But here's what's striking. Adult blue whales, which are now 25-30 meters long, don't just avoid killer whales, they actively be interfere. Dozens of cases have been recorded of humpback whales and sometimes blue whales interfering with killer whale hunts, and not only when their own calves were at risk. They've also dispersed killer whale attacks on seals, other whales, and even animals completely unrelated to them. Scientists debate the motives. Some say it's simply an instinctive reaction to killer whale aggression. Others believe there's something more at play, something resembling altruism, or at least deliberate interference. When a whale 20 times heavier than a killer whale approaches it and literally shields another animal with its body, it seems like a conscious act. Personally, I find it difficult to explain this by instinct. Something else is involved. One researcher described how a humpback whale followed a seal being pursued by killer whales for about 40 minutes. The seal eventually climbed onto the whale, and the whale slowly carried it away. This isn't a hunt, not an accident. It's something else. Something we don't yet understand. Blue whales aren't humpbacks, and their behavior is slightly different, but there are documented cases of blue whales interfering with killer whale hunts. Perhaps this is because killer whales are the primordial enemy of any whale, and the reaction to their aggression is deeply encoded. And now about the darkest episode in the history of human-blue whale relations. Whaling has been going on for thousands of years. In archaic cultures of Chukotka, Alaska, Japan, and Northern Europe, whales were a source of food, oil for lamps, and bones for tools. It was a hunt for survival, and whales were treated with respect as a living gift of the sea. They killed as many as necessary, no more. Everything changed with the advent of industrial whaling. In the 10th century, steamships and harpoon guns appeared. The blue whale, previously virtually unattainable, too fast, too large, too dangerous to approach, was suddenly within reach. Floating butchering factories allowed the catch to be processed right at sea. Fleets would leave for months and return with thousands of carcasses. For what? Oil for industrial purposes, for lamps, for soap making. Meat for food. Whalebone for industrial use, for corsets, umbrellas, and furniture springs. Whale oil was also used in the production of margarine. Yes, the same margarine you put on bread. This is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. Whale products were literally part of everyday life for Europeans in the first half of the 20th century. The numbers are shocking. In 1931, more than 29,000 blue whales were caught in just 1 year. 29,000 in a single season. By the mid-20th century, the species was on the brink of extinction. What had been part of the ocean for millions of years became a rarity in just a few decades. In 1986, the International Whaling Commission decided to ban commercial whaling completely. July 23 is now World Whale and Dolphin Day. Do you think humanity can undo what it has done? Share your thoughts in the comments. Recovery is underway, but painfully slow. Blue whales reproduce slowly, producing one calf every 2 to 3 years. Today, there are no more than 10,000 of them on the planet. Some populations, for example, in the North Atlantic Ocean, are still critically endangered. But the threats haven't disappeared with the hunting ban. They've simply changed. Ship strikes are one of the main causes of blue whale deaths today. A whale near the surface sleeping or feeding simply doesn't have time to escape the ship. Will container ships move quickly and silently? No. Noise pollution. The ocean has become significantly louder over the past 100 years. Ship engines, military sonars, industrial explosions during geological exploration, all of this creates a constant background noise. For an animal whose primary connection to the outside world is acoustic, this is catastrophic. Scientists have recorded that the distance at which blue whales can hear each other has decreased several-fold in recent decades. Climate change is impacting krill populations. Where krill become scarce, whales don't get enough to eat, and malnourished females either don't conceive or give birth to weakened calves. Entanglement in fishing nets. A whale caught in the gear can drown or suffer serious injuries. Despite all this, there is good news. Some populations are slowly growing. In Antarctic waters, their numbers are gradually increasing. In the California region, the population is considered relatively stable, certainly by the standards of this species. Tracking programs, satellite tags, and photo identification using tails are available. All this allows scientists to monitor every known individual and understand the progress of their recovery. International organizations continue to work to reduce threats. In some areas, speed limits have been imposed on vessels near whale congregations, and acoustic warning systems are being developed to alert captains to nearby animals. Fishing gear is being modified to allow whales to disentangle themselves. It's not quick, it's not cheap, and results are very slow. After all, blue whales live for 90 years and generations change rarely. But progress is being made. The blue whale has outlived harpoon hunters. It has survived industrial hunting. Now the question is whether it will outlive us with our noise, our ships, and our changing climate. I think it will, but only if we want it to. To help the channel tell the story of such incredible creatures, your support details are below the video. Every ruble goes toward new videos, not to feed killer whales. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe to the channel. New episodes are released weekly. See you there.